in the Executive Council because the political parties created the executive as a cabinet. The only cabinet I know of is in the lounge room, usually for the crockery. It's made out of wood like their heads, but at the end of the day, you've got to understand there is no national cabinet. There is no emergency powers. If they were, they'd be exercisable by the Governor-General at federal level and the governors of the states at state level. There's no other way you can do it. There's no way you can do it.
But aren't all sitting?
Hang on a second. We need another microphone so other people can talk.
Take it up there, yeah. Take it up there. Who was that?
Our current government, Jeff, is a trader, and obviously part of the old traders, the whole lot of them.
I told him the other day in the meeting, I said, get up and calculate your back guys and Most people don't understand the government general. He swore the lawful oath. He did swear the lawful oath. Yes, but he never took up his post as the governor general. He disobeyed that oath. He breached that oath under Section 83A of the Commonwealth Criminal Code, committed treason. And he knows it, so he's concealed it. My wife will tell you, we sent him an email telling him what a little fat trader he was, and a few other things about him. You know, he did swear the lawful oath when he was in the military and went back on that. So the second time he's breached the lawful oath. He then allowed Kiefel, who he knows has not sworn the lawful oath. Kiefel is the Chief Justice, Susan Kiefel, of the High Court. Under Section 72 of the Constitution, the Governor-General has to select all judges for the Federal Court and the High Court. Doesn't happen. The Federal Parliament's been doing it. And they swear the oath to the Queen of Australia. And if you listen to ScoMo, this is how you can tell ScoMo is a Freemason and not a Christian as he classes himself, because he cannot take the oath contained in the Constitution because it's to uphold the laws of God. And he can't do it because after level 7 he swore a blood oath to Satan, which is their religion.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And now, if you understand Freemasonry, I study every single religion you can, because you can put them in their place. I don't criticise them. Under 116 of the Constitution, we can't criticise it, legislate against it, or everything. They're entitled to their beliefs. But they're not entitled to inflict them on us. When they come to our country under the immigration laws, there's immigration and immigration. I'll come back to immigration. Immigration, when you come from a country foreign to the British Empire into this country, you have to follow our customs and beliefs, assimilate, or get out.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Fit in or fuck off, basically.
Not fornicate off of you, buddy, yeah.
So Melbourne and Darwin pretty much been sold off to China.
They leased the Darwin Harbour to the Chinese so that nobody could check up on the fact that they're bringing drums of radioactive waste into Australia through there and dumping it in the desert. And the reason I know it,
Oh, that's what's
we just happen to know one of the drivers who flies from Musselton to Darwin, gets in the truck, he doesn't open the truck, doesn't go near the back, he drives it south of Alice Springs to a dumping place, they unload it, he drives the truck back, gets out, gets on a plane, flies back. And they're doing it all the time. Our local MP, I got into him the other day because he leased the Meriden Airport to the Chinese for 40 years for $1.
Oh.
But at the last election, when I was at the polling booth, he told me, he said, if you ever win in court against the council, we'll change the law and make it retrospective and take your land off you anyway. I said, that's okay. When you walk around the corner one day and you wake up in hospital, you know what? You opened your mouth at the wrong time, you're going to get it. But people want to know why I'm not in the gap party. There's a simple reason. I joined because I wanted to know how the system worked. You can't find out outside. But I joined on the premise, one, they swore the oath contained in our Constitution, every single person who sat, and they did. And 2, they were not registered with an ABN or ACN. Cullerton told me a while back that he had registered the company, and I'd already told him I had no intentions of running again. I completed what I wanted. And when I found out, I said, I don't even want to know you. I said, you're an idiot, you're a traitor, what you've done. And he is. I don't care if you love the party, you want to be part of them, it's your choice. But they're currently operating in treason. Section 44 of the Constitution says you work for a company of more than 25 people, you're incapable of sitting. Political parties have 500 members to be one. They're a part of the company. They're sitting in treason. Now, immigration. Immigration is when you travel anywhere in the British Empire. You don't need a passport. Well, have you got one? You can't be in New Zealand and be a foreign country. You can't send people from here to New Zealand. Why are they doing it? Because they're traitors. Go back to Clause 6 of the Constitution. New Zealand was part of New South Wales.
That's right.
That's it.
You can't change that. We can. The people can vote and they can become another state, separate state, that operate under our Constitution. How does that work? Yeah. There's a lot of things that people don't realise are going on. People say we've got a Northern Territory. Yeah, it's a northern part of South Australia. Go read your Constitution. We've got 6 states. 6. Northern Territory was cut off without complying with the Constitution. 123 of the Constitution says to increase or decrease the power or the area of the state requires a referendum in that state. Do we have one? No. And we didn't. Then it requires a referendum under 128 for everybody to approve the creation of a new state. Not a territory, a state. They have 2 senators. Why? If they complied with the Constitution, they'd have 12 like the lawful states. Now, 125 of the Constitution says the seat of government will be inside the state of New South Wales, which it is, more than 100 miles from the centre of Sydney, which it is. But it cannot be a territory.
State.
The same thing applies. It can't be even a state, because it steps outside the Constitution, 125. It has to be the seat of government, must be in the state of New South Wales. So Canberra is not a state, it is not a parliament, it is not a territory. They say it is, 123, 128 says it's not. So we've got a problem, because we've got 76 senators when we should have 72. 12 sixes are 72, not 76. We've got 4 senators that don't belong there, from 2 fraudulent territories that are not states, contrary to our Constitution. You tell me, that doesn't matter, what's a few more senators, who cares? It's a lot. You sit in the parliament, there must be 19 members of the Senate before they can even debate things. Look at Jackie Landry a few weeks ago on Facebook. Yeah. She was there, the Speaker was there, the Secretary was there, and all the rest were ghosts. It didn't sit. All the debates for the homosexual legislation, there were 7 people in the parliament. These are 19.
How are they getting away with it then? Why are we letting them?
The only way evil succeeds is for good people to do nothing. We're too busy sitting beer, watching footy and doing everything else. I know you don't. I know you stand up. But everybody doesn't. We need all to stand up and to fight these people. Go to your local MP. We do. They get banned from their office. We went and took our local MP a copy of the Constitution and said, read it and comply. It cost us $150 to get him to read and comply with our law because he didn't know.
Well, I contacted, because I've only been in Western Australia 3 years, but I contacted one of the members of Parliament asking for how can I get a copy of the Constitution about 3 months ago.
I'll give you a little book that big.
Never got a reply.
You didn't?
So I went back again and said, you never replied to my email. It just shows how incompetent I might be voting for you. Still didn't get a reply. Nothing.
And usually when they do, they give you a little book about that big and about that thing. And it's full of garbage. It's made from the mucus one. Yeah, from the mucus one. Garbage. I understand people's frustration of what's going on.
Isn't treason still punishable by death?
Yes, and they can't, the death penalty stands in this country because the political parties removed it for their political parties. They don't have the power to remove it on behalf of us. And that's a fact.
What about a military coup?
Well, you want to know about a military coup?
Love to know about it.
Bob Hawke and his son Stephen tried to hold one using Aboriginals in Balgo Mission. They had 3 full road trains of ammunition, surface-to-surface missiles and rockets in 1986. They were going to take over the federal parliament and proclaim the Australia Act. The police department knows it and has concealed it, and I know that for a fact.
Repeat that again, what year was that?
Did you say that again?
Yeah.
1986, Stephen Hawke, Robert Edward Hawke, and a whole group of other people were going to have a military coup in this country. And the police department knew it. Federal police knew it. Political parties knew it. They lost their guts and nerve, and it backfired. And they had 3 road trains of armoury are lost. Yes.
Wayne, slightly off topic. Imagine if the police come to your door demanding to, say, test you for COVID under the Health Act 2016 or something like that. What do you say to the police? They demand.
If I'm nice, go away. If I'm not, piss off.
But have you got a warrant or that?
No.
Over
How are they going to test you? They enter your body with a foreign object. That's rape.
That's right.
Yeah.
Law allows them to rape you.
But you've got to be issued with a biosecurity order, and only a health officer can give that to you. If you
Even a health officer cannot enter your body without your permission.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But only a health officer can actually issue that, and even then, you have to have reasonable symptoms or signs and symptoms, and then you have to have been around people who were COVID anyway. In which case, they would have to name the person that you were next to, and they'd have to have reasonable thing that you had COVID at all, and even
Reasonable
then,
grounds.
yeah, really, thank you. And basically, they can't do anything. So if they come to your door, you say, "Where's your biosecurity order?"
So what you just said there states that all child vaccines are paedophilia rape.
Yeah.
They're statutory.
Yeah.
Now, hang on, don't get carried away with that one. There's 2 types of vaccines. One you can demand is clean and environmentally friendly. The other one has formaldehyde and mercury in it. Right? They haven't all got it, I can tell you. I know the ones that have been tested by a biochemist, I know, and they don't.
How do you get the clean ones?
Anybody who demands it, and talking about the police coming to my door, they never do. They pull up across the gate, 3 at a time with their cameras and everything on, and they crawl in there and say, "Oh, I've got something for you." That's nice. Then get out. That's all they get out of me. I don't deal with them. They're not officers of the Crown. They have no authority over me. That guy, that lady. Beg your pardon? I don't have a sign. They already know they're not welcome. I told them to get out. Yeah, well, people have signs and they are a barrier. If you read Plenty versus Dillon, it costs the police in South Australia $300,000 for entering the property, demanding entry on a summons. But when you read paragraph 4, 5, 6 and 7, it explains the imperial law, which they must comply with. They must approach a magistrate or a judge with an affidavit to get that warrant. They don't have it in the warrant. But if you get the warrant, and here's the trick you've got to learn, they'll come out with a warrant, and where the JP is, it's blacked out. Say, "I want my copy." They have to give you a copy before they can enter. You hold it up to the light and you see it's never even been written on. You can see if it was written on and they blacked it out. They don't. They just black it out and they don't even sign it anymore. So you just have, "Now take your bit of garbage and get out." It's up to you to stand up to them, you to check up on them, and they will break the law, and they do. Beg your pardon? Yeah. No. You don't have to open the door. You do not, while you're on your property, have to give them your name and address.
They're knocking down doors.
I know what they're doing,
They're
I
knocking
understand,
down doors.
and I go on there, I watch it all the time, but the law says they can't. We've got to fight that. This is what we're fighting for our rights.
Absolutely. For our lives.
When you get pulled over for a drink driving test, if they're standing right there and they got the test, I'll comply then. They want to do a drug test, go away. That's right. You can't force me, you can't compel me, you can't demand that I take that test, so you know. But quite often when you go up Brand Highway, they'll be standing in the middle of the road with this stupid little line, you pull up there, go in there, there's a big line of cars. Do you have your test kit with you? No. Have a nice day, drive around and drive on. You've complied because you stopped, you've asked for his kit, you didn't have it. No, not your fault, and you haven't broken any law.
Can I just say, that's
That's
why
sorry.
that letter from Serene
What
Terrahart,
happens
hang
on the
on,
Brand Highway, they've got truck base.
Yes.
And they quite often set up these things with a boost bus, and they have 20 or 30 cars in there. You're going to get stuck there for an hour. And if you drive up and down the highway like I do, it's 4.5 hours each way, just sitting on the speed limit. If they're standing in the middle of the road with a little one and they say, I'll just go in there, say, no, I stopped. What do you want? You want me to do a breath
Oh,
test?
I
Yes.
see.
Where's your machine?
Sorry.
It's over there. Good, you go over there, buy and drive off. You've complied. You've complied. But the best thing is to have a dash cam because it's all on there. They can't deny it.
so can I just make a point? That's why about the Serene Terrahart letter is so important that you get that out to every police station. Because A, there is no state of emergency. There is no state of disaster. They don't have the authority to come and do anything. So even if they come to your house, they would have to issue you a biosecurity order. Now that Biosecurity Act is on our Slack app. So if you haven't signed up, you can read the back of that pamphlet I gave out. It shows you how to sign up to Slack. That Biosecurity Act is in there. If not, you can just get it off of the internet. But they have no authority. So this is why, if you send that letter out, we inform them of the law. So they can't come to our doors. If they continue to, after we've informed them of the law in that 25-page document, they then individually can be sued. Now you can sue them for quite a lot, so they're not going to want to do it. They do not have the backing of the state and they will not have the backing of the government, so the police officer concerned will be individually sued. Now as soon as that happens and they don't have the backing, they're not going to do it. And they'll probably start working for the people rather than against them. So please send that letter out. It's vital.
Yeah, this
No, I'm talking about the 25-page document. I don't know if you're a latecomer. No, that tells you how to access this letter.
So this is Serene Terrahart, right? This is a 25-page document. I mentioned it earlier. Now in there, she outlines why the COVID directives are unlawful. She also states there is no state of emergency, there is no state of disaster, so they are acting out their code of conduct. The problem is, the police don't know it, because they're just taking directives from their superiors and they're just going, well, I'm just following orders. Well, that's not an excuse in the court of law. Because if you knowingly or unknowingly follow an order that's unlawful, you are liable. And that's why they will be sued individually. And as soon as they realise that, do you think they're going to carry out these orders? No. And you can actually slap caveats, against house, what's it, the liens, a commercial lien against their house.
Under Section 9.
Yeah.
So is that already being done in Victoria?
So basically, Serene Terrahart is fighting that right now. She's challenging the government. She's got all the COVID information in here, and I urge you to download this. Read it before you send it out, because it's really comprehensive and it's a really interesting read. It really outlines your rights. And it also has a big list at the back as to what we want done and what her clients want done as a result. Stop locking people down. Isolate the sick, let the healthy go. Stop enforcing tests against the biosecurity orders. Stop, vaccinating people who are healthy. There's a whole list. You can come up and have a look at it later if you'd like. But if you just download it yourself and have the time to read through it, because honestly, it's a really long read.
Karen, it's in Slack, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's in Slack, so I mentioned that earlier. And on the back of that A5 pamphlet.
Ask them to come and give me their email address with the white box.
Yeah, and it also, so on the back of this, I mentioned Slack. And it actually says you can either go see Kim and she can invite you into our Slack app, or you can actually join up yourselves, download the app and access Patriots headquarters. Alright, so by doing that you'll have access to this letter, and then you download it, you read it, you find out your rights, and then you send it to every police station, because they don't know. And they honestly think that these directives are legal. They're not. Well, they are legal, but they're not lawful. So,
Just got a question about it, as I've printed off 2 copies so far, ready to go. Are you meant to give it with a cover letter?
if you want to do a cover letter, you can. Now, actually, look, no joke. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, actually getting all this together. So one thing I didn't have a chance to do was write a cover letter, but I am going to write one, and when I do, I'll put it into the Slack app. If not, if you want to go ahead and do that yourself, you can.
Can you email them or you have to?
Well, look, you can email them, but if I were you, I would just send a hard copy, because they can delete that. If you want to do both, do both.
Have a drink stick.
So look, to be honest with you, I'm actually just going to walk straight into the police station, and I'm going to say to them, look, I'm here to protect you. I'm here to protect you because you don't know the law. Because they don't. And they're going to want to protect their families, they don't want to be sued, and I'm going to say, I'm here to protect you because it's clear you don't know the law. And no doubt your superiors haven't told you about this, so I'm here to protect you, and I'm also here to protect me and my state. And I'm going to hand it over to them, I'm going to explain why I'm there. So however you get it to you, it's up to you. It's up to you, you're accountable, and it's up to you to sort of, protect the state in your own rights. How you get the letter there is down to you. I'm just giving you the resources. So hopefully that's helpful.
So, say if Mark McGowan suddenly decides to put us in an emergency situation, how do we, but surely he has to have something in writing to say that he's doing
Okay,
that.
so within that letter, it explains exactly what the emergency protocols are. And the problem is, the emergency protocols that were put out were overreaching every law and human right going. So that was from the onset. So even if we go down into another lockdown, they cannot enforce masks on you, they cannot enforce vaccinations on you, they can't do it. Because there's a thin line between you and your government, and it's your skin. They can't stop you from working, they cannot stop you from working, and no one can ask you to have a vaccination. They can recommend that you have a vaccination, but they cannot require you to have one. And require is another one of those horrible legal words which means that you'll be ordered to have one. So they can recommend. So when you go into work and they say, oh no, you've got to have, I'm about to do this now, I work for a big company and I'm just going to, they've just passed a thing out saying, if you get COVID symptoms, you've got to be off work for 2 weeks and you've got to be tested. Not this black duck, oh no. I'm actually going to be sending that letter to my workplace, and I'm going to be sending a cover letter and saying why exactly that document, that memorandum that they sent out is illegal and unlawful. So once you've got that letter, how you decide to use it is down to you, but please use it, because we don't want to be another Melbourne. And what we're doing is preventative, because we don't want that to come here. Once we're on lockdown, it's so much more difficult to deal with. So if we do it now, if they put us in another state of emergency, they've got no excuses, because if they then start enforcing these things, they're acting outside their code of conduct, in which case we can say, remember this thing that we sent you? And they can't say they didn't get it, because all of you sent it.
They keep changing the number. It used to be 50,000. No, you see the biosecurity one.
Let him finish speaking. Let him finish the speech.
Okay, so right now,
That's
yeah, okay, right now, just so you know that Fair Work are stopping you from having forced vaccinations right now. So if you're having problems with your work, go to Fair Work because they're protecting you from the flu vaccine anyway. Anyone else, please speak to me afterwards because obviously we've got to give this back to Wayne. I mean, it's his time. So please see me afterwards. Okay, that's fine.
All right. Now, in relation to the Biosecurity Act, it's only had one reading in Parliament. These three, it's invalid. Every single act they've passed has been done by the National Cabinet. Doesn't exist in law. It's not in our Constitution. Doesn't exist. All the laws are invalid. Read that document this lady's got. Very explanatory. Apply it to your Constitution. You'll find out the person who wrote it is very good. Misses a few points. I'm not going to criticise them because anything that someone's doing is good for us. But no, the majority of acts that have been through our Parliament in 1973 have had one reading. They require three. They're invalid. And as I said before, majority of them have to be reserved for emergency signature. They weren't. So they're invalid, unlawful. No, not illegal. That's a sick bird. Usually it's the deco if it falls out of the sky. But at the end of the day, unlawful is the text. Go back to your legalese as you said. Unlawful is what you say. Be careful of what you say. Watch what you say. Learn your Constitution. If you haven't got one, talk to somebody who has. Talk to this lady, their group. If you need me to come back again and explain other things, invite me back. Given my throat is about to shut off, I'm going to call it a day. I will answer your question. Yes?
There's a child, so I have a kid on the way in November. I'm talking about these birth certs and legalities. Am I required to make my child a legal entity? Or if not, if I don't make the child a legal entity, what ramifications will that have on the kid's life?